Hello. I'm here with the video. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ami, my pronouns are he, him. And if you're new here on this channel, I talk about my journey as a Black, queer, trans, expat, and world traveler, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, and I take y'all on that journey. If you want to go on that journey with me, make sure you go down below and smash and subscribe. This is part 2 to a series I'm doing on finding queer community abroad. This video I'm going to be talking about in person. The gems I dropped in the first video I think are really helpful as well, so if you want to check out the first video where I talked about finding queer community online abroad, make sure you check that out as well. Let's get into it. First and foremost, I want to give a special shout out to a dear friend, Simba Love. They gave a really great tip on a live they did on Travel with Kel's channel. Y'all can check that out. I'll have it down below. When they're talking about community, they really focused on something I think is really important, and that's going to places that you like. Going places that you organically or just naturally would be resonate with, or that you would be aligned to go to. These are the things I think are really important. Outside of any tangible notes or things I can tell y'all about finding people or what websites to go places that you like to go places that you feel aligned to going to, because those are where you're going to find not just any community, but you're going to find your community. With that being said, let's get into it. So I think people think this is funny because a lot of times people ask me just plain and like dry, like, okay, how do you find queer community abroad? And I usually tell them Tinder and cafes, because that's where the queer people are. I have met so many queer people from Tinder and cafes. So the first place I'm gonna give is cafes. Now, not just any cafes, like, I don't know why, but I feel like I have a certain eye that I've used to kind of find, like, okay, what cafes would a queer person be more inclined to go to? Usually they're a little bit more colorful, sometimes a little bit more hipster, a little bit more chill, laid back. It just depends. It depends on the place. But one cool thing is when you're searching, if you're looking on Google Maps to find places, there is this little tab on the bottom that it will say LGBT friendly. Now, that doesn't mean that necessarily all these places are gonna just be crowded with all the queers. But I mean, I think that it's something that I look for. So I'm a queer person, so when I look at that and I see that, I'm like, oh, let me go over there. Let me see who's over there. So I think that's a great thing. Also, if you're watching this, you should really make that a search possibility so people can find the LGBT friendly places, but you know, call me. The next place I'm gonna suggest to finding queer community abroad in person. Now, this is one I'm a little bit more hesitant to say, because number one, we have a whole panorama outside. So honestly, I don't really go to clubs and bars that much, especially not as much as I used to. I could probably count on one hand the amount of bars and clubs I've been to since the pandemic has started. But I mean, maybe this video will be evergreen. Maybe there's one day this pandemic isn't having as much of an impact. I know that from OG LGBT people, that was always a great place to find community. It can be sometimes, I think a lot of the bars and stuff clubs can be sometimes very gay centered for gay men. Sometimes it's hard to find lesbian centered places, or honestly, y'all, we just need like queer, like we just need some more openness in the community and just like have spaces for trans, like for everyone that's inclusive. So, but I think it is a great place to be like, okay, 9 times out of 10, unless people bring in their straight friends, you're gonna find at least some queer people and be able to build some type of community. Next place I would suggest in finding queer community in person is, for kind of searching to find the places to go in person, is to search for blogs. Now, I think this is more pertinent for big cities, but I usually, when I go to a place, especially big cities, I'll put LGBT in whatever city I'm in. Like I said, this is usually helpful for bigger cities, because usually bloggers are more inclined to make content in those bigger places because there's more opportunity. But if you're in a big space like Mexico City or a big city around the world, it's really a great spot to start, because you can kind of see where the places that people are going, or what are the places that people thought was pertinent enough to mention into a blog. It's not a for sure for every place. It's not 100% every single time, but I definitely have found some gems of spaces that have other queer folks from searching LGBT and blah, 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 and finding a blog or something that talked about it. So definitely worth looking. Next, I want to talk about is Pride. Now, there's no place on this earth that you can't find queer people in person. You go find queer people in person and Pride. So there are different prides in different countries. My first pride ever that I ever went to was actually in Lima, Peru. Actually, let's cut to a quick video. I'll show y'all a little bit about it.
Woo! Uno, detén tu pose ahí. Ok, gracias bebés. El runway es una categoría El runway es open to all, así que puede ser femenino, puede ser masculino, así que invitamos a todas las maricas, las lesbianas, las travestis a ser ustedes mismas, y no hay como una regla, ¿va?
As y'all saw, it was such a beautiful space, and 9 times out of 10, mostly, if not all those people, are going to be queer and or they're going to be allies. So it's really a great space to connect with people, to meet new people, to kind of see, especially when you're abroad and going to new countries, it's really a great way to see kind of how queer culture and the culture of that country kind of intertwine. And it was really beautiful to see like some ways have they combined Peruvian culture into Pride and connected their Afro-Peruvian culture into Pride and just connected like Spanish, all these different pieces. So I would definitely suggest going to Pride if you are somewhere international around that June time. I think some Prides even happen like anywhere in the summer, like May to like July, I think is like Pride time. But really a lot of them happen during June. So if you're abroad or if you're anywhere in the world, feel free to check out Pride. I promise you, you'll find queer people. And if you don't, then leave, because that's not Pride. Another great place to find queer communities, community centers. This is something that a friend put me onto, especially when you're traveling, kind of looking up and using that social media and stuff like that, like using hashtags and stuff like that to find in that place. So whether that is LGBT Peru or queer Colombia, whatever the case may be, that might show you some centers that are doing work within the queer community that may be able to connect you, whether you want to do work and volunteer and help out, or just be able to look at who's on the page and be like, hey, I saw you're working with this community center, I'd love to come check it out, or I'd love to meet for coffee, I'd love to chat, whatever the case may be. Community centers, and especially if you find them, can be a great place you can connect, do some community service or volunteer, as well as figure out what are issues in other countries and other places that are really impactful for the queer community in that country. The next one, y'all probably might laugh at me, but it's so true. Queer people know queer people, okay? Word of mouth. The way you can find queer community abroad is word of mouth. When you start connecting to more queer people, they're going to introduce you to their friends, and their friends are going to introduce you to their friends. And you're also going to meet their significant others, and you're going to meet everyone, the whole chosen family. So I think it is very much real that once you start meeting your community, meeting more people, your community naturally will broaden, it will naturally will grow just as you're navigating it, because queer people want to be around other queer people too. So don't be afraid to, when you meet people, like, hey, I've been trying to expand my community. Do you have any other friends? Well, don't say other friends, because that may come out like you don't want to be their friend. But I would love to get to know your friends as well and really broaden my community. So word of mouth is also very valid with meeting community. The next place you can meet queer people in person, honestly, is hostels. Now, this is a little bit harder because, like I said, I wish there was more kind of work being done to kind of create more visibility as to where it's safe for queer folks to go, as far as like which spaces are going to be more affirming, which hotels and hostels are going to use my pronouns or even ask what my pronouns are when I check in, what spaces have like gender neutral bathroom, all these different things. While it's a little hard to find specifically in every country like a queer hostel or hostel that specifically is for queer people, I think that I definitely have met a lot of queer people in hostels, and I think sometimes I just have an eye for like kind of what we're into, as far as like, I think usually I'm attracted to some places that are more colorful, that I don't know, sometimes I just book a place because they got a rainbow somewhere. Listen, don't judge me, okay? But regardless, I think if you're going to hostels, other queer people are going to hostels, and if you're, you know, either open or just talking about your identity, or sometimes that stuff just comes up, you'll naturally and organically meet other people that are not only travelers but are also queer, that maybe have some insights as well, so you can meet other people on your journey. The last thing I'm gonna say before I get into some tips specifically on how to find some community is to follow your intuition. The reason I say that is because I feel like there's been so many instances where something just told me to go to this place, or something just told me to talk to this person, someone just told me to go wherever, do whatever, and that was usually led me to meeting new people or trying new experiences, or, you know, expanding my community. Just also remember, your community isn't going to be in one place. So be open to going to different places and try new things, and maybe you might just find your new best friend or your partner, whatever the case may be. With that being said, my last tips are, number one, I think the most important, and like I said, Simba spoke to so beautifully to this, is be authentic, be you. Like, your community is going to be for you if you're going into spaces, if you're going to places, if you're seeking out things that interest you truly in who you are. So if you're not into ceramics, don't go to ceramics class because you think the queers are going to be there. Honestly, if you're into bowling, you're queer, go bowling. You might find another queer person that likes bowling. You want to find people that are in your community, not just any community. Along with that, like I said, y'all stay open. I would think it's really important to have an open mind, especially, like I said in the other video, if you're new to your journey of coming into your queerness, be open-minded and be open to new spaces and new places that you can find people, because it can really be a beautiful experience when not only you're meeting new community, you're meeting new people, but you're also trying new things and you're stepping outside your comfort zone, because I truly believe the best growth happens outside of our comfort zone. With that being said, if you haven't already, check out part 1 of this series. And if you have any questions or have any other suggestions on places that you have found community as a queer person or as a Black queer person, please drop them down below in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to talk to y'all. If you like this video, make sure you go down below, lightly tap that like button, and if you haven't already, go smash that subscribe button. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Peace.